It's a very interesting murder event that took place 1 month before I was born and into my childbirth, into my first couple of months on this earth. And some of you may not know about this. Maybe some of you do. Maybe some of you have parents or relatives that were alive at that time and may have heard of this as well. I told you I wanted to talk about things that affect the black community because there are many things that affect us. There have been many murders that have taken place and taken the lives of our people, whether it be men, women, or children. Unfortunately, in this case, 12 black women were murdered from January to May of 1979. This is known as the Roxbury murders. The murders occurred between January and May of 1979, when 12 black women were murdered within several miles of one another in the Roxbury neighborhood on the south side of Boston, Massachusetts. This was not suspected to be the work of one serial killer, however, as at least 4 different men were charged on account of these murders. The Boston Globe was the only media outlet to cover the killings. Those most vocal about these incidents, however, were black feminist groups such as the Combahee River Collective, who drew connections between the violent deaths and the multiple systematically marginalized identities of black female victims. Let me see if I can find a picture of this before I continue, because I want to show you some pictures if I can, so give me a second. Now, I apologize, but this is the only picture I could find of these women. These are some of the victims here who were murdered between January of 1979 to May, or I should say of April 1979. These are the victims here. Now, I want to apologize for the fact that I don't have a lot of pictures to show you with this video. That's the reason why I'm doing this as a narrative, more than a visual narrative thing. I'm just doing it basically as a narrative from Wikipedia, because it's very hard to find pictures about this particular murder case. But you guys can read along with me, and I'm going to be as loud and as careful as it could be possible, so you guys can understand everything I'm saying, because I tend to read and talk fast at times. Alright, so it says Roxbury social climate. During the 1970s, the Boston area endured severe racial tensions and a lethal social climate. Now, before I go on, many people already know in the black community that Boston is very racist. It's a very racist place. It still is to this day. I don't care what anyone tells you. So this is not surprising, especially around that time. We still had stuff going on, even though times have changed a little bit. We still got the same sort of climate in the air to this day. All right, so the Roxbury neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods where the African American victims were found, were in the middle of social movements that started with the desegregation of public schools. In 1974, this desegregation led to numerous events such as riots. It says such as riots. It's such as riots, protests, and violent actions that occurred on both sides and led to a number of hospitalizations and deaths. Initially, the neighborhoods surrounding Roxbury belonged to certain racial groups such as Irish Americans, Italian Americans, and African Americans. As Judge Garrity ordered that the school and buses be desegregated, people from different backgrounds were forced to intermingle and cohabitate. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, when people are forced to do things they don't want to do, they act out, especially when they don't like the people that they have to be forced into the situations with. With raised tensions, there were many people that suffered various attacks. Examples include, but are not limited to, the stabbing of an African American attorney, the public beating and death of a white male, a group of African American high school students being trapped in the school for hours by an angry mob. That is ridiculous. And the brutal attack of an African American football player. Now, these are the victims here. Chris Ricketts, 15, was found on the sidewalk on East Lenox Street in Roxbury on the 29th of January 1979 with Andrea Foy. Let me see if they're on this this photo here. I don't see. Is this Foy here? Okay. Yeah, so these are the two right here. Ricketts is the one that you see right here, and Foy is this one right here. They're the first two that I'm telling you about. Okay. Andrea Foy, who I just pointed to as well, was found strangled on the sidewalk, on East Lenox Street in Roxbury the same night. Okay. Dennis Jamal Porter arrested in connection with these two killings. Foy and Ricketts are the first two victims. Both were found in trash bags with a blanket. Ladies and gentlemen, this is nothing short of like what we see now when it comes to our women and our children, even our men. They're tossed aside like garbage. They're treated like doo-doo. I'm trying to be as non-verbal, vocal, and foul-mouthed as possible in this video, but it's just like they treat us like we're nothing but garbage. So of course they find these women in garbage bags. I mean, I told you about the little girl that was found in a duffel bag. I mean, and that was a black person that did that. This is just sad that this happens to our people, and it still continues to happen to this day. This was in 1979, 40 years ago as of this recording, as old as I am now. This is sad, okay? So let me move back on to the other victims. Let me just scroll up. I'm sorry that the video is like this. I apologize, but if you want to get this information, and if you're still with me, I appreciate it. All right, so the next victim is Gwendolyn Yvette Stinson. She was also 15, was found strangled in the yard near her Park Street home in Dorchester on Tuesday, January 30th. Her neighbor, 40-year-old James Brown, not the singer, was arrested for the murder. Now, I don't know if James Brown was a white man or if he was a black man. I have no idea, but it's just pathetic and disgusting that a little girl lost her life like this. Do I have a picture of Stinson? This little 15-year-old girl. I don't know if she's one of the ones I've seen. Stinson is right here. So Stinson will be this one right here. She was 15 when she was found strangled in her yard right there. That is really sad. And I'll see if the other three are part of this as well, because they have 6 victims here. Darielle Ann Hargett. Is that the one I'm looking at right now? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Karen Prater, 25, was found dead on February 2nd near Boston Park's department office in Franklin Park. She was an unemployed mother of a 2-year-old girl. Okay, I think I have the picture of her. The day of her death, she was headed to her 75-year-old grandfather's, Charles Prater's house, who she often took shopping. Prater was beaten and stabbed to death and then left behind a wooden area near a hospital. She was the 4th victim. Kenneth Spann was arrested in relation to her death. She was beaten and stabbed, ladies and gentlemen. This mother of a 2-year-old girl. I believe that I have the picture of her. Prater, let's see. Yeah, Prater is the one right here with the baby in her. I figured that was the one. I can't focus. There it is. So she's the one who was found beaten and stabbed. Okay. I have Hargett next, I believe, is the one with the glasses you see. I'm going to show her again. Darielle Ann Hargett, 29. Okay, so she was 29. The other one I just told you about that had the baby was 25. So Hargett is 29. She was found strangled and bound in her apartment in Wellington on Wednesday, February 21st. She was a choir singer and a social worker. And that will be this woman right here with the glasses. As you can see, Hargett. I think that's, yeah. Can't really see it that well because this is an old, really old photograph from 40 years ago. But that's her with the afro and the glasses right there. And the last one, I think I have a picture. Hold on a second. Let me see. Yes, Etheridge. Desiree Denise Etheridge, 17, was found beaten and burned to death on Fellow Street in Dorchester on Wednesday, March 14th. Her skull and jaw were I'm trying to be as calm as possible when I'm telling you this, but this is sending chills up my spine right now that this happened to these women. Her skull and jaw was shattered. My God. I mean, the person that did this to these people, the persons that did this, what I really want to say is that what these women went through was horrible. This woman had her jaw and her skull shattered. The person that did this to her must have had nothing but deviltry and demonic possession inside of them. Anyone who was involved in this had the devil inside of them. A woman was beaten, burned to death. A woman was stabbed and beaten. 15-year-old girls, 17-year-old girls strangled. This is actually sending chills. This is sending chills down my spine right now, and I don't really scare easy, but this is really sending. Because every time I read a report, I'm not trying to get off topic, ladies and gentlemen, but every time I read a report about something like this, it messes up my head because I put myself as if I'm at the murder scene. Like I can just I can never really truly imagine, but I'm imagining what the person went through when they were about to get killed, what the hell they had to go through, and it's just terrible. It is absolutely this happening to our women. This happens to our women now. Look at the women who we are still trying to find out where they are. They're missing, and we don't know where they are. And I have more cases to show you and share with you over the course of more months as I continue to do these videos. She was a part-time student who lived on the same street as Stinson. Her body was found 100 yards away from a school where the bodies of Rickett and Floyd were discovered as well. Okay, so Etheridge, I just told you, she was the one that was beaten and burnt, and the head was shattered. That's her right there. I don't have anybody else's picture, so that's the victims I have. Darlene Rogers, 22, was stabbed multiple times and was found naked from the waist down in Washington Park on April 14th. I guess she was raped and murdered. Lois Hood Nesbitt, 31, was found dead in bed, tied up and strangled by a radio cord. I'm really finding this hard to. I'm finding it very hard to continue doing this. It might have been a bad idea for me to talk about this. Her murderer's name was Richard Strother, 31. Despite sharing the same address, it is unclear whether they lived in the same building together or as neighbors. It could be possible. Let me just scroll down to this right here. This is crazy. This is crazy. And look at there's still more victims that I haven't read yet. Do you see this? It's amazing. So let me see. Now we got Valric Holiday, 19, was conscious. She was conscious when the police arrived to her apartment on Friday night. She told police she was stabbed by an 18-year-old by the name of Eugene B. Conway, a man who lived in the Dorchester residence with her. Conway was arrested that night and pleaded innocent. Valric died Saturday morning. So Friday night, she was able to give an identification to the person who would be her killer. Sandra Boulware, 30, 10th woman murdered. Her naked body was found charred in a burning grass lot near a YMCA at 5 a.m. A year prior, she had moved from Connecticut to Boston. Her sister reported her missing after 3 days. Her murderer was Osborne Jimmy Shepard, 55 at the time. This is absolutely disturbing what I'm reading right here. It's ridiculous. It really is crazy, and it's a damn shame that these women lost their lives like this. It's senseless and just despicable. Bobby Jean Graham, I guess she's the last victim. She was 34, 12th woman murdered. Jean's autopsy states that she died from a lacerated liver caused by multiple blows to her midsection with a blunt. This motherfucker, whoever it was that did it to her, was a son of a bitch. Graham was found, I'm sorry, I cursed. Graham was found in an alley by a man driving past. A female witness said that she noticed a couple walking towards the alley with the woman appearing to be intoxicated and unsteady to walk. The man then picked the woman up and carried her to the alley. Graham was found the next morning with blood on her body and indentations from a heel on her chest. The persons who did this to these women absolutely hated them. It was nothing but sheer hatred that happened to these women. The trauma that was on their bodies, being burnt, being stabbed, being beaten, being strangled, having marks on their chest. Oh, God, you have to be a monster. Some of the women who were mentioned in the local newspapers had a very brief description of their death, and it was quickly brushed aside, so they didn't care, just like they don't care about the missing black girls now. On January 30th, 1979, a brief article titled "Two Bodies Found in the Trash Can," consisting of 4 paragraphs, was published, but not once revealed their identities. That's a goddamn shame. The next day, Gwendolyn Yvette Stinson's identity was revealed in an even briefer article. Karen Prater's identity was finally revealed a few weeks later. Let me see if I have enough time to read the rest of this here. Response to the attacks. Well, basically, it just talks about how the feminists came out and they were trying to seek justice. Many, as it says, many black leaders felt that it could have been an act of racialized violence. I wouldn't put it past. I mean, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna stop here. This is a very chilling case, and I didn't even know about this case until I looked up like some cases that I wanted to talk about. And this is a very chilling case, especially it's 40 years ago, and 2 of these victims died before I was born, and then while I was being born, and then when I'm on this earth as an infant, these women were getting killed. And it's sad, and I did my best not to cry on this video because I get really emotional about shit like this, but I did my best not to cry because it's a damn shame what I had to read to you. But I hope that you understand what the point I'm making is, the fact that it doesn't matter what time we're in. The people of the dominant society do not give a damn about our women. They don't give a damn about our children. They don't give a damn about us. This was 40 years ago to this recording now. As old as I am walking on this earth right now, this happened. And as I just read to you, they barely gave a damn about it. They didn't put it in the paper. They did put it in the paper, but they didn't really expound upon it, the identities of these women. And it's a damn shame. But look at them. Look at these women. These are just six victims out of 12. I couldn't find the other 6, but I told you what happened to all 12 of them. They died violently, they died brutally, and it's a damn shame. Senseless. It's been 40 years. I hope they're resting in power. I hope they're resting in peace. But this is a chilling thing, and it's just another example of what we have to expect from them, because they do not care about us. And to this day, the same thing is continuing to happen when it comes to black men, black women, and children. I have more stories to share with you of these young black girls who were murdered in the 1970s by this killer called the Freeway Phantom. He killed, I believe, 4 or 5 young black girls, okay? And nobody gave a shit. Young black boys getting killed and getting their penises chopped off back in the 70s, okay? We can go to the Atlanta child murders as well when nobody gave a damn. This was a very chilling video to do, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I can get your feedback on this. Tell me what you think. I'm sorry this video was long, but I hope that you stay with me to the end. Let me know what you think. This really chilled the hell out of me. But it just had to be told. You had to understand that they don't care. They just don't. That's why we need to care about each other, and we need to take care of each other. I will talk to you next time.